Hello, guys. We are the Boredom Sated crew, and we are continuing today with our opinion, at least, on overpowered spells for 5th edition. Today, we are going to talk about second level spell slots. Second level spells, still relatively low level. Some of them are still strong enough, even at second level, to be able to kill monsters outright. But that's where it comes to our different opinions on what's overpowered, what's not. And that's what we're going to get to here. And I'm going to go ahead and get us started off with Misty Step. Why is Misty Step overpowered? Well, I'm going to run up to you, do a touch attack, and then bonus action, get out of there, so you can't have actually seen or done anything to me. Neener, neener, neener. Neener, neener, neener.
Thanks.
Like, it makes it so that you, as a wizard or a sorcerer or whatever, you can go up, do a touch attack spell, Misty Step back out of melee range, and have everything be effective. Because remember, one of the weaknesses of touch attack spells is you have to touch people, and you don't want to be there because you're a wizard and you probably have crappy armor. So it makes it so that it is just that good. And again, because it's a bonus action, it also makes it so you just have the ability to kind of move around and become a master of the battlefield. It gives you so many abilities. If you absolutely have to, you can Misty Step up to someone and grab onto them. There's role-playing opportunity in Misty Step as well, and that's the reason why it's overpowered, because there is no situation where having Misty Step doesn't help you in or out of combat. Now, it only has a 30-foot range, but 30 feet is still usually the length of the chasm, or 30 feet is going to be how high something is flying above your head. And it makes it so that you have many more options that you wouldn't necessarily have otherwise, especially if you're playing one of those characters that gets wizard or sorcerer spells a little later, like, Eldritch Knights and things like that.
Yes. And based on every single overpowered spell I've heard come from Jonathan, it's clearly why he believes the most overpowered wizard is the Bladesinger. And you can look at that video and agree or disagree with him. It's really good. So my second level overpowered spell, the first one I chose was Spiritual Weapon. Now, it lasts for a minute. It creates a spiritual weapon equivalent to the type of your god, because it is mostly for clerics spell. But it does 1d8 plus your spell casting ability modifier. And when it tries to hit, it uses your spell attack modifier. So considering clerics usually don't pump up their strength stat or their dex stats too much, it really gives them a really good opportunity to be melee effective. But what else does it do is, after the first initial round, after you cast it, it only uses your bonus action, not your action, to do the attack. So it really could potentially give you an opportunity to cast a spell and attack, and it can move up to 20 feet at range, attack somebody. So there's really bringing up the utilization and action efficiency for the cleric.
My first second level spell, Nilox, Snowball Swarm. This is from the Xander's Guide to Everything. This has a range of 90 feet, and in a 5-foot radius sphere, you can hit something with cold damage for 3d6 damage, and they would have to do a dexterity save or take half damage. And if they save, they take half damage. So this is at second level spell. That's third level and higher characters can do 3d6 damage, in a 5-foot radius. So you can take out like a bunch of warriors coming your way, and drop them right there with one spell at third level. So that's my first one.
Okay. My first one is an old favorite, Whole Person. Only 60-foot range, and it's concentration. that can last up to a minute. And it's a wisdom saving throw. But if you fail that saving throw, then it's also humanoid only. But if you fail that saving throw, you are boned because you are paralyzed. In 5th edition, paralyzed condition basically means you can't move, can't cast spells, can't do the actions. You instantly fail anything involving strength and dexterity. And here's the really punchline. This is where rogues really tear you up. Anybody who's trying to attack you, melee gets advantage on you. And if they hit, it's automatically a crit. So this is where you send in the rogue to finish you off. And even if you don't do that to, like for instance, if you're in a scenario where the big boss has a henchman, most likely the henchman is a melee or a warrior type. Usually, if the boss is the caster type, so their wisdom save probably not going to be that high. You can just simply take them out of combat for a while they, in vain try to make the saving throw. And while you can burn down the caster boss real quick and then finish him off, whichever your choice. But it is a devastating spell when used properly. Okay, that's my first pick.
All strong first picks. My second pick, another staple, Invisibility.
Invisibility.
1 action, range of touch, concentration, up to 1 hour of invisibility. Higher level spell slots, you make more people invisible. Invisibility is incredibly strong because it can last up to an hour. When you get to higher level, casting invisibility at higher levels will give you the opportunity to make your entire party invisible, which is always nice. And also, of course, if you're invisible and they don't know you're there, you get the advantage on whatever attack you're doing. You only get it for the 1 attack because, remember, the spell ends automatically if you make an attack or cast a spell. Now, and that's also a weakness to specifically 5th edition invisibility. It says casts any spell, not casts an offensive spell. So that's not as good as it used to be. But invisibility is still incredibly strong, especially when you cast it on that rogue and then have the rogue go forward and start with an assassination, in case they happen to be an assassination rogue, which are the most common. So, the automatic critical thing is just kind of nice. Going along again with Hold Person. Automatic crits are really good. They are.
My next spell that's overpowering is Heat Metal. I think it was a close call with whether making it the most powerful spell for me or my other choice, but I put it in the second position, but it's a very close call. And so what does it do? You choose a manufactured metal object, such as a metal weapon or a suit of heavy or medium metal armor that you can see within range. You cause the object to glow red hot. Any creature in physical contact with the object takes 2d8 fire damage when you cast a spell. Until the spell ends, you can use a bonus action on each of your subsequent turns to cause this damage again. If a creature is holding or wearing the object and takes the damage from it, the creature must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or drop the object if it can. If it doesn't drop the object, it has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks until the start of your next turn. So any of those knights with heavy metal armor, you can say pretty much goodbye because there's no saving throw. And they keep on dealing damage, and they get disadvantage to attack you or on any ability checks that they have. That's why I think this is really up there for overpowered spells.
My second spell is Mind Spike. Now this is a divination spell. This is from Xanther's Guide to Everything as well. Basically, the target must make a wisdom saving throw or take 3d8 psychic damage, but then you know where they are. So that if they go invisible, you still know where they are. This lasts up to 1 hour under concentration. But it's 3d8 damage at second level, and you know where they are for 1 hour, where they can't go invisible or try to change their locations. You're always going to be able to know where they are. So I thought that was a pretty good overpowered spell there for second level.
Okay. So my next spell is Alter Self. You might think, well, what's useful Alter Self? But what it does is it allows you to adapt to the environment. One of the simplest things is breathing underwater. You develop gills. You might think, well, that's kind of very situational. It depends upon the dungeon master. Also depends upon the environment you find yourself in. It's a very adaptable spell, I found. And it goes beyond just simply changing physical appearance, which it does as well. You can utilize it in numerous situations where you have to blend in, or sometimes even escape. You never know. Turn a corner, turn yourself back into an orc or whatever else. Go back and say, oh yeah, they went that way, or something like that. You never know. That's where charisma, and hopefully you can speak the orc language. But anyway, I found it to be just the ability to a second level spell to cause people to be able to breathe underwater extremely useful. There could be water traps. You might need to go. I mean, there's tons of sunken treasure in real life that's underwater. You have to get there somehow. So that's my second pick.
And as you can see, again, we are still on that everyone kind of going a little bit different methodology here. So let's see how our last set goes. My final pick, if you have watched my wizard video, you probably already know the answer to this one, because the damage from that build is almost completely built around it, which is Shadowblade. Shadowblade is from good old Xanathars. Bonus action, range self, concentration up to 1 minute. You weave together the shadows to create yourself a sword. The magical sword lasts until the spell ends. It counts as a simple melee weapon, which means that you're proficient. But if you weren't, it also says you are proficient. It deals 2d8 psychic damage on a hit and has finesse, light, and thrown properties. So if you really feel like it, you can throw it. And it's finessable and light, which means, guess what? Dex. Lots of good things about that right there. In addition, when you use the sword to attack a target that's in dim light or darkness, you make the attack roll with advantage. This is not something that sucks about this at all. So having the advantage is really, really great. If you drop the weapon or throw it, it dissipates at the end of turn. Thereafter, while the spell persists, you can use a bonus action to make it reappear in your hand. So you can throw it and then use a bonus action to have it come back. Kind of neat. Now here's where it gets really great. At higher level spell casting, it does more damage. If you use a 3rd or 4th level slot, it does 3d8. A 5th or 6th level slot, it does 4d8. And a 7th level slot, it does 5d8. So, if you choose to be one of those caster types that wants to be a melee build, you're generally going to have 2 attacks per round. And casting a 7th level spell on this seems rather high, but 5d8 plus your dexterity modifier, or if you've gone with certain other builds, you might be able to use your intelligence modifier. 5d8 plus 5 to hit base per hit is really, really strong. It's considered a magical weapon, so it does get around some of those other things. Now, the one problem with this spell is that it does not count as having a value, so you can't use it and then use like Green Flame Blade on top of it, because that would be overpowered. But they thought of that, and they really thought of that and added in the you must have a value to your weapon. And I'm pretty sure the reason they did that is specifically so you can't use Shadowblade with it. Because I think they knew this spell was overpowered and didn't want you to be able to combo it. Because if you could combo it, it'd be really, really, really overpowered. Several spellcasting types, especially if you go again Eldritch Knight and if you go the Spell Dancer, are very, very strong with this. And again, if you've watched any of the other videos I've talked about this spell in, you know I love it.
So my last overpowered spell, which I thought edged out heat metal just slightly, has to work in effect with watching all the overpowered builds that Jonathan does, because once you watch those builds, you can cast this spell with pretty much impunity and destroy all your opponents. You cast Phantasmal Force, and you create the overpowered wizard, the overpowered ranger, or the overpowered fighter that Jonathan has stated in the videos, and let him go at you for a minute. Now, you do get a saving throw. It's an intelligence, but most creatures don't have that as their high thing. But once you fail the intelligence, and now they're facing one of Jonathan's overpowered individuals, they are pretty much done within a minute. Because his overpowered wizard has taken on dragons by himself. So at which point you yourself who cast the spell can sort of relax and do other things, and it's really efficient because for a minute you have another wizard in the group that casting the spells and doing the actions necessary.
My third and final spell for second level is actually also Alter Self. I think you could do a lot with this spell. It's not just the underwater and the alter your physical looks. Trying to get away. You can alter your physical looks when you're doing an assassination, so that no one knows who did it. You can also do body weaponry, which is a +1 magic weapon. So you can actually hit with if you have no weapons whatsoever, you can still do damage and hit things that need magical weapons. So for a second level spell, that's quite a lot of utility.
All right, my last spell for second level I thought was very extremely useful is time-honored Silence. Silence casts up to 120 feet away, one action. It can last up to 10 minutes if you concentrate on it. And it has a 20-foot sphere. Now, the wording is it creates an area, a 20-foot radius sphere, where no sound can be created or passed through. So basically it makes you the creature immune to thunder damage, and they're deafened while they're inside it in addition. But it's centered on a point you choose within range. That point could be something on your target's body, for instance. I choose your ring. It's a point. Technically, there's no saving throw. So it basically makes any spellcasting with a verbal component impossible. Remember, no saving throw. So it's like boom, and 20-foot range. You're basically the caster's doomed at that point, unless they have somatics or whatever else. And this is one of the things where if you had an invisible caster on top of that, and they didn't know that this was happening to them, they couldn't see it. The caster casting this spell upon them, well, after they cast it, so you can't identify it. So you may or may not be able to counterspell it in time. Who knows? But it's one of those things that can be used throughout the levels to nullify a cleric, to nullify a very verbose or charismatic paladin who likes to talk his opponents out of fighting, that type of thing, with charisma, with diplomacy. Yeah, it can happen. And anybody who's using thunder damage is kind of messed up in it. And it's just incredibly useful in that regard. That's my pick.
I have to say overall that I do absolutely love Silence. Silence in one campaign I played literally killed the final boss because he was flying. It was a final boss encounter in inside a volcano, and he was flying, and all of his abilities were nullified with basically he was flying because of a fly spell that had a concentration aspect to it. And he couldn't keep up the concentration because an arrow hit him with a silence on it. So the big bad was killed by the weakest party member in the group, who hit him with an arrow by rolling. He needed a 17 plus to hit. He rolled a 19 on the die to hit him. The guy got hit, fell into the lava, and the rules at the time, at least because this was a Pathfinder 1, was the damage per round of lava was 20d6. So the wizard ended up dying 1 round and change later because of the fact that he couldn't cast anything because he had a silence arrow in him and lava killed him. It was the most anticlimactic and the best ending to a campaign ever.
Well, being submerged in lava by itself, it kind of precludes casting because you're screaming in pain and drowning at the same time. So yeah.
He was a rune lord. He was basically a demigod. It was hilarious. It was wonderful, and it was one of the best campaign endings I've ever seen. Anyway, so that just again shows you there are certain spells that are second level that are going to be used forever. Some of these spells are just really, really good at second level. And it's always good to talk about both types of level spells, both the overpowered at the time and the massively overpowered forever, especially in combination with other spells. So, if there's something that you think we forgot, please let us know. If there's something that you like that you want to mention, please let us know. Like, subscribe, go ahead and hit that notification button so that we can keep doing these and you guys can keep watching them. Tell us anything that you feel like telling us, and at least for me, that's it. If anybody else has anything to say, go right ahead.
That's it.
Yeah.
See you later.
Don't forget to watch the other videos.
And we will see you next time.